everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Faculty Development Program. As we all know, Milagres College, Mangalore, in association with Internal Quality Association, organizes Stress Management in Education Sector, a series of 5 days faculty development program. We are on the first day of faculty development program. To know more about the topic, impact of stress on teachers' mental and physical well-being and job satisfaction, we are having a chief guest by Manoj Fernandez. He will be talking on this topic. Before we go with the topic, a small cheer and a great welcome makes a merry feast. Without any further delay, I request our principal, Reverend Father Michael Santumar, to welcome the gathering. A warm welcome to you too, Father. Now it's the time to sit back and listen to our resource person. Over to you, sir.
more options are also there. Yes.
Am I good to go? Good afternoon, everyone present over here. Let me give the disclaimer right at the outset that this is not going to be a scholarly discourse. This is just exchanging of ideas and opinions. There's one difference in exchanging the ideas and when we compare it to the scholarly discourse, that the first one, the scholarly discourse, is expected to be right with every point, but the ideas can be different from person to person. And at the end of this session, all ideas are open for deliberation, and we can definitely agree to disagree. When it comes to the word stress, I believe any human being who has the ability to think can also think about the stress which he goes through. So when it comes to the teaching profession, they say it's a walk in the park, but only we teachers know sometimes it can turn out to be a walk in the Jurassic Park. So based on the topic given, I have divided this session into two categories. First, we'll try to find out in this modern era, what are the challenges we face which might result in a stress for the teachers. And second, what could be the remedies which we come across? Let me start with the first point. The first thing is about the changed mindset of students. We kept on hearing to this one particular slogan throughout our schooling days, that is Guru Devo Bhava. The Sanskrit word Guru means the dispeller of darkness. And if you can recall, even now, if you come across your primary teachers, you might be riding the bike or driving your car and you happen to see them, automatically Is it clear now? Organizers, can you hear me? Yes, and the screen sharing is visible as well. Yes. If you come across your teachers now without contemplating about anything else, you will wish them automatically, your hand will go to your heart. But now, when I joined teaching, that too in a degree college, initially for a few days, because I was a new face, it was good morning, good afternoon. Within no time, that good morning became hi sir, hello sir. And now, at times, if at all, I come across some of my old students, maybe age difference could be one issue. Instinctively, they end up saying bro or dude, kind of these things. And these jargons just give us some idea that in which particular direction the whole idea of education is changing. It could be because, and if at all you are not able to follow these jargons, then you are left out. There could be a case if you just ask them to write the spelling of okay, half of them will end up writing O and K. Maybe a few of them might just write K because that's the SMS jargon. And OKAY could be hardly 10 to 20%, and they're quite accustomed to this. Other day, there was one girl in the department, and she just came up to me and said, "Sir, I need to go to my hostel and come back because I need to change my dup," she said. The word was dup. I'm coming across this word for the very first time. I couldn't get my head around it, and I just asked, "What is dup?" So she said, dupatta. So that is DUP for her. So I was of the opinion that if you have already started pronouncing the word, then why would you stop with the half pronunciation? What's the biggest difficulty in saying dupatta? But that is how things work. And if you cannot follow them, then they will get to know that, you cannot resonate with this Gen Z. Most of our teachers are millennials, as they say. And this could be one thing. The mindset of the students is one challenge, which could lead us into stress. We might kept wondering, I'm doing my best, why I cannot relate to my students? Because there are two words we say. One is communication, another is connecting. So to communicate, anybody who knows language, verbal, non-verbal, they can communicate. But to connect to students, it's a different skill set altogether, and only few people can manage it. So that's number one. Number two, we have heard about this concept of generation gap. And if at all people ask you, what is generation gap? Maybe you can give the example of you and your parents saying that your dad, your mom is 25 years elder to you. And that's how that could be the perfect example for generation gap. So 25, 30 years. But unfortunately, the whole concept of generation gap has been redefined, because the year I joined, all the teachers who are in the first years of their teaching and those who have experienced of teaching to the final years must have, definitely you can resonate with this particular point, because they might be just 2 or 3 years younger to you and still you cannot connect because they are different generations. Thanks to the technology, I believe for every 1 or 2 years, there's a new generation emerging, and that could be one biggest challenge. And when it comes to this particular generation, some of the things which they do go way above our head, and especially the social media influence they have. Pardon my language, just for the sake of example, I'm mentioning this word. During our college era, if at all anybody would use the B word, let me specify it, the word bitch, against any girl, that would be highly derogatory in nature and highly offensive. But you must have seen nowadays, the girls themselves, while posting in Instagram, will mention hashtag my bitch. All right. They're trying to refer to their best friend, and they're saying that this is how we are presenting ourselves. And when it comes to, if you ask the students, who's your best friend, their definition is quite simple. If there's a person in their class who can listen to them, not only for something productive, even if they're abusing them and the person is not at all offended and he's giving the same abuse back, that is the new definition of their best friend. And for us, we cannot simply digest this fact, because this is a new generation. Now, you might be wondering, even if they are using the slang words or jargons of one particular social media, they know where to use it, when to use it. For all those who have this argument, my point of view is there's a word called habit, H-A-B-I-T. You remove H from it, a bit remains. You remove A from it, bit remains. You remove B from it, still it remains. What I mean to say is it is very difficult to get rid of your habits. And if at all you develop one unproductive habit of using these jargons, and that is what we find it difficult to correct our students as well. There was one particular stress interview in a best manager round wherein the judges were asking the question, and for the question of these jury members, student in frustration ended up saying, "Oh shit," but unfortunately he said it over the mic and 500 people could listen to it, and the judges were so annoyed that they made him to play around that particular word for next half an hour, that he just stood up and apologized, saying that it was my mistake, but not intended. It was just out of habit. There are so many other examples wherein you wonder, how is this possible, which might lead you to think in a different direction. There was one case wherein I was valuing a 6th semester answer paper, theory paper, and in section C, which is meant for 15 marks, essay type question answers, there's one student who has written 4 pages, and in those 4 pages, 7 times he has used the F word. Now, there could be only 2 interpretations. One, he doesn't know the meaning of it, or there's something different happening altogether. Second, he has taken it for granted that this is going to be a long answer question, so the person who is valuing my paper is definitely not going to read my answer word by word. That particular answer paper was rejected, put into the the category of malpractice, and the person had to rewrite. And if at all you lose one paper in the 6th semester, how difficult it's going to be. That is one thing. And in any case, when we try to impose our view saying that we are your teachers, we are your lecturers, mind you, there's a new word, facilitator. You're not the teacher any longer, though we would like to call us by that particular name, but we are facilitators anymore. There could be a case wherein even the moral standards of the students have changed. I would like to recollect one particular example. I was a final year student, and teacher was just 5 minutes late. No surprise, the classroom turned out to be a war zone. People were throwing the paper rockets, paper ball, and the moment the teacher landed in the class, he was really annoyed with what he could see. And by that time, before that, he had advised us not to do these things, and he was fed up of all these advices, and he thought of trying something entirely different. Right in the corner of the class, there was a broom. So he just went there. He didn't say anything. He was a senior most professor, and he picked up the broom, started sweeping the class. The moment he picked up the broom, all the students jumped out of their seats and they said, "Sir, please don't do this. Please don't do this." And somebody went and grabbed the broom, and then we started cleaning the class, and we told him, "Sir, this would never happen again. We will keep the classroom tidy and neat." All right. Now, this particular example was very much there in my mind, and when I started my journey as a teacher, I had to face the similar situation. The same thing, that they would apparently throw the paper balls, and 2-3 advisors had gone in vain. So 4th time, when I when I went to that particular class, I could see the broom, and I was very much tempted to go for the shortcut method, which my teacher had adapted, and I started sweeping. Just 30 seconds gone, 1 minute gone, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. For next 5 minutes, there's no buzz at all. There's nobody saying anything. And after 5 minutes, when I'm almost done with sweeping whole class, there's one last bencher who is saying, "Just let me know, bro, when he's done. After that, I'll wake up. Till then, I'll sleep." So I was up for a shock. As they say, problems repeat, solutions seldom repeat. Every time you'll have to come up with something for this particular generation. Maybe we can relate it to this particular story of what we have heard, that monkey and hat seller. We did listen to this during our school days, wherein a person who wants to sell the hats, and he's walking somewhere in the afternoon. He feels like taking rest underneath the tree, and by the time he gets up, he realizes the hats in his bag, they're completely gone. The bag is empty, and to his surprise, he lifts his head and he sees that the monkeys are wearing the hat and sitting on the branches and the tree. That it has got lots of monkeys. He picks up a stone, throws at the monkeys. Monkeys catch the stone and throws back at him. He understands that monkeys have the tendency of imitating. There was one hat remaining on his head. He just takes that hat and drops it down. All the monkeys drops the hats which were there in their hand, and there was a solution. So now this is a 1.0 version of this particular story which we all heard. But apparently after few years, his grandson also went on to continue the same profession. He had heard this story that if at all he's facing this problem from monkeys, what could be the solution? And he slept off, and by the time he got up, monkeys had taken away his hat. So he did not have to think much because his grandpa's formula was very much there. It seems he just took his hat and dropped it on the floor. And within no time, there was one baby monkey which jumped from the tree, took that particular hat and went back and sat on the branch, only to tell him that, "Listen, man, even we have grandfathers." So the moral of the story is, the problems might repeat. The same problems were there for all these years, even when our parents were doing their graduation and when we are teaching as well. But the solutions have to be different, because this is the new generation, and as we call them, Gen Z. All right. The third thing is, even more surprisingly, it's not just the students' attitude which can put us into stress, but even the parents and the way they think is a kind of a problematic area for us. Give me a minute, participants. There's a technical issue. We can change the slide. Love. We can start. All right. When it comes to the whole idea of dealing with parents, now you can quite easily recall if there was any situation wherein your parents had to take someone's side, and the choices are you and your teachers. 99.9% they would favor the teachers. Even if you go and complain about your teachers, they would say, you must have done something wrong. That's why teachers are scolding you. And other day, I had encountered a situation where one of my colleagues had called for a parent meeting. First of all, the parent took her own sweet little time to make it to the parent meeting. And after weeks, she was there. And the first question she asked to the parent, to the teacher was, even I do not talk to my daughter like this. How dare you use this language? Now, you might be wondering what language the teacher has used in the class. And she had just said, do not behave like an idiot, because she kept on murmuring something during her class, the student, and after a point, teacher did lose her patience, and she just said, do not act like an idiot, and which was taken as a highly offensive statement. So the modern parents, in the way they are approaching us, it could be one thing. There could be a case that they are not able to give enough time to their kids, and those problems are coming to our desk. I'll narrate you one particular example which had happened in one of the colleges in our city. It seems there were 3 girls always going together. It was a group of girls, and their problem was something very different. 2 of them were perfect when it comes to the health wise and when it comes to their physique. But there was one girl who was a bit plump, she was overweight, and every time other students used to tease her. So you look at your friends, they are perfect, what do you call as the modern terminology as zero size and so on. And every time this girl would get a lot of kind of a negative feedback from her classmates. And she was tired of this. She thought of finding a solution, that her only idea as of now, her only objective is to get fit. Now, she didn't want to go to gym. She didn't want to go to any physical exercises. And the second option is she didn't want to go for any diet, because these are the 2 easy options available. You'll have to work hard for it. She wanted to relish the food as well. So she was more eager to find out if there is any shortcut available. And coincidentally, both parents are doctors, but the only problem is they would come home only after 8 o'clock in the evening. So this girl will hardly get any chance to spend time with her own parents. So this girl went to Google and was going through some shortcuts, and she came across one, should I say, different or a weird concept, wherein she got to know a person becomes fat not mainly because what he eats, but most importantly, whatever he or she eats gets digested in the body. And then there was one eureka moment for her. That day, by that time, she had stopped eating in the college canteen because everybody would mock at her. And then she would, after she got that result in Google, once the college is done, she would go to this junk food stall. She would hammer the burgers, pizzas, and your pani puris and all that stuff. And then once she goes back, now she's all alone in the house, it starts pricking in her mind that I put on so many calories, and I'll again become fat. And that day, now she wanted to apply this particular solution, that a person becomes fat mainly because whatever she eats gets digested in her body. She went to the washroom, picked up a toothbrush, put it in her mouth, and she puked. And this gave her a kind of a weird relief that I have managed to eat the food, I have relished its taste, and I've also made sure the food is not digested in my body. One day, it became a habit of 1 week, 1 month, 2 months. By this time, 4 months have gone by. And yes, of course, if you do it on a daily basis, you would lose weight. She started losing weight, but then she started getting the weakness symptoms as well. There were so many other side effects. And finally, one day after 4 months, she fainted in her house, and 8 o'clock when parents returned for their shock, this girl is lying down and she got admitted. And then they got to know something is terribly wrong. And we were asked to meet this girl, visit this girl who was admitted to the hospital, and parents were there. And we were shocked to find out during that point of time, her present diet at that point of time was just 2 spoons of rice, and rest everything is liquid food. Now, because if you show 1 bowl of rice, forget about eating. Even if she gets to see the rice, she's so obsessed with this omitting, that smell and all this stuff, automatically she would start getting the omitting sensation. And the one question the parents asked to us, the teachers, we went there out of a sympathy to that girl. From morning to evening, this girl will be in front of your eyes. Why didn't you tell us that this habit she has cultivated? Now, morning to evening hardly makes it 7 hours. And rest of the 17 hours, the parents need to monitor. But this is the approach of modern parents, and the questions were thrown at us. So this could be one more thing that we already have enough on our platter, but then these issues emerge out of nowhere. Then, if I could go to the next point, then there is one interesting one. Can you see the slide change, organizers? That's the technical point now. Just got the feedback that. Okay, yeah. All right. Eye specialist. Now, this is not for the eyes. This is eye for ice cream. For some reason, students are of the opinion that they are the best in business, and there's no room for improvement. As they say, the biggest room in this world is room for improvement. But the modern generation is of the opinion that they know everything. We need not advise them. Just imagine your mindset as a student. You would expect from your teacher as the students that teach me something which is not there in the textbook, because whatever is there in the textbook, especially the theory papers, that you can read it by yourself. Okay, so teach me something which I do not know and which is not there in the textbook was our expectation from our lecturers. But today's generation, their expectation is quite simple, but for us it is difficult to cope up with. They are telling you, teach us something which we do not know, which is not there in the textbook, which is not there in the Google, and which is not there in the ChatGPT. Now, how can you teach them something which is not there in the Google? This is going to be your challenge. I'm sure most of you have already given up the simple chalk and talk methods, or at least occasionally you do go for the PPTs and the videos as well. But even those things are not working. And you're wondering, I'm spending my whole night to prepare this presentation, to find out a video. And even if you go as a DJ to the class by carrying all these loudspeakers and all, and 3 to 4 seconds into that video, students are not interested. Now, that is also a different skills to choose a video which would interest the students, because they are a generation wherein when they watch a YouTube video, they will be very anxious to click on that skip button, which would appear after 5 seconds of the advertisement. So this could be one big thing wherein they think that they can defend anything. There was one case for us wherein we found one pan masala packet with one student. And instead of apologizing, he came up with some weird reasoning saying that, "Sir, have you seen these advertisements on TV? People and celebrities like Shah Rukh Khan, Ajay Devgan, Akshay Kumar are the brand ambassador for this Vimal pan masala. So what's the big deal? It is just for flavor." It completely forgotten that what are the negative impact of that particular pan masala packet. So this could be one thing wherein this weird justification you'll have to manage, and along with the preparation for your classes, you may have to be ready for managing all these issues as well. All right, let's move on. The next thing is the student and parent issues are done. We are working for an employer. We are working for a boss. They say, love your job, but not your employer, because you never know when your employer will stop loving you. This is the present generation, and most of the times it does work. In our case, let's see how it goes when it comes to the pressure from the employer. Our first pressure, which will immediately put us into stress is that is of qualification upgradation. You'll have to keep writing your exams, you'll have to think about your PhD and so on. That particular pressure is always there, and you keep asking yourself, where is the time? Because we are so engulfed with all these issues which keep on repeating, but where is the time for ourselves? So that could be one thing. If you remember, there was an incident during the COVID time where I guess degree teachers were still given a privilege of conducting the online classes, but the primary teachers, for them, the government introduced a program called Vidyagama. Vidyagama is Vidya Agamana, which is teachers are supposed to go to the doorstep of the students and teach them, especially in the remote areas. And that was a case which was a highly dangerous scenario where everybody was worried about the COVID infection. And in Dakshina Kannada itself, there was an incident where teacher got infected during that program by visiting someone's house, and unfortunately she lost her life after a few days because vaccination was not yet developed by that time. And now who is responsible for this? Because this was the official decision taken by the government. There are a couple of stories which I've heard from my friends. I'll definitely not mention the institution name, wherein one of my friend got appointed as a lecturer, finished his initial 10 days of training. On the first day of class, he's supposed to report to the class, but he was down with the suspected malaria. So he had to call up XYZ, and who was his boss, and tell him, sir, I cannot come, please grant me the leave. But apparently that was his first working day of his career. And he called up that boss in the morning, and it seems the boss replied, you come here, if you faint, we'll take care of you. So this, if this could be the case. And there was, I'm thinking twice, but before sharing this particular incident, but this has happened. And the lady did share these memories, which were very bitter memories. It seems she went to apply for a maternity leave, which is, we say, such a delicate topic, and all respect needs to be shown to that lady. But the timing was not that great from the point of view of the institution, because she had gone in the month of July. The classes have just started in June, and the principal of that institution was so annoyed because now he will have to find a new hand. For some reason, he was not in the town, and she could meet him only in July. And the one question, the lady is applying for a maternity leave, and the principal asked this question, why don't you plan for these things more perfectly? Imagine if there was anybody with a delicate mindset would have completely collapsed internally, that what's the question which is asked to me? And the lady was bold enough, and the lady gave it back to the principal, it seems, by saying, sir, we planned, but plan failed. I know it might be sounding a bit funny, but everybody is not in a position to give these brutally blunt answers. But this is the empathy level at times we get, and this could be one huge factor of stress, the approach of the management. Do you have a privacy as a teacher? Our answer is big no. Even if you're in a mall, if you're in a fish market, if you're in a pub, if you're in a wedding hall, there will be some eyeballs which are always on you. Up to one extent, it is great. But the problem starts, you do not know who's clicking your pictures. Mind you, the staff members, you can take it for granted. Everything you put it in your social media, everything you share in your status, any app which has got a screenshot option, that will capture it, and those images will definitely go into the student unofficial WhatsApp groups. So this could be one thing, that privacy is a myth for teachers. You don't even know. And the fact is, you may not be teaching that student. Say, for example, the place where I teach, there are 7,000 degree students, and I might be dealing with at the most 300 to 400. But there's a high possibility that all those 7,000 students might be knowing that there is this person in our college, and they might be curious to know what's happening in my personal life. So this is one particular idea, wherein now, what is there anything management can do to make sure that the privacy of the teachers is safeguarded? Big question mark. I'll give you one example. Why am I dragging this management into this safety? Okay, in one of the colleges, the college has the habit of uploading the staff profile into their website, which is okay. But the picture also gets into it. So one day it happened to my colleague, who is colleague in the sense she's working in another college, but she was my batchmate during our masters. So one day I received a video on my WhatsApp, and that was sent by another mutual friend of ours. Even he was a lecturer. And then there was a screenshot. So first I opened the screenshot. In the screenshot, that is a staff profile of my friend who is working for XYZ college. And the second video was, to my horror, that particular video was taken from a porn website, and something very unique had happened. That video was not edited. Anybody who gets to see that video for the first time would believe the lady in that particular video exactly resembles the lady in that screenshot, which means that is of my colleague. And it is not edited as well. And by that time, the video has gone viral. Then only we got to know, coincidentally, they say, just like me, there could be 7 more people in this world who have got the same face cut. Coincidentally, the boy had found a video where the face resembles the face of that particular madam. And that madam, we couldn't trace the boy. That's a different story. And he had sent it viral. Now, if we get to see that madam on daily basis, you can easily differentiate, saying that this is not her. But anybody who sees the video for the first time would easily believe that it is her. It seems the management did take up this matter to the SP level, and because the screenshot was taken from their website, then they told, find out from your admin that who has visited your website. Usually 50 to 100 people visit on daily basis when it's not an admission time. But by the time the people got to know about all these things, the video has already gone viral, and they had to go back for 4 days and check 4 days ago who had visited. And the number was not 150, almost 12,000 people had visited the website only to check, is this lady present in this college? Is it real? Now, out of 12,000, how can you find out who's the culprit? So this is one thing wherein, when it comes to the whole idea of the management, the pressure, and the privacy we have got, there's a big question mark again that can lead to many stress-related issues. And the sixth one is something related to what we call work-life balance. After putting in your service of 15 years or 20 years, or even 5 years for that matter, because some of your friends are working in corporate lives, getting promotions, and you come across an advertisement in the newspaper that 10 places you must visit before you die. And you are just thinking, by reading that advertisement, you are just worried, how do I pay my monthly EMIs? My question is directly coming to the point. Is it lucrative enough? Is this job lucrative enough? Are you happy with the payment? Sometimes they keep on saying that teaching is not just a profession, it's an occasion. But if at all you're not happy with the payment, then I'm sure that might lead to one question, that how long I can continue in this profession. I've got my aspirations, ambitions. Can I make it big with this profession? You know how difficult it is to get a government appointment these days as well. That is one thing. The second aspect is, do you have enough time for yourself? What happened to all your hobbies which you used to pursue during your degree days? Some of you might be the dancers, singers, you were into drama, sports. What happened to all those hobbies? There could be a case where we are already jumping into a conclusion. Life is only meant for weekends. Personal life is only reserved for weekends. Rest of the 5-6 days, for some of them, only hardly 1 day of weekend. It's only about the professional life. Please do not go with this approach that life is only meant for the weekends or the vacations. There could be a case where, I've come across many of my colleagues who say, I'm having my lunch at 3 o'clock, 3:30 because I had continuous classes, so I skipped my lunch. And no wonder at the age of 23, 24, 25, they've got health issues. Either they are overweight, or there are people who are coming up with the back pain, knee pains, and all these diseases, all these symptoms were observed only after 65, 70 years at one point of time. And now the younger generation is having this. And when you don't get to eat your breakfast, then you end up eating something junk. That also has a negative impact. So this is one big case. Ultimately, it would be a case that one day you would retire, and then there would be that same fruit basket and same shawl. But when you look back, in my opinion, all of us should start preparing for our farewell speeches and what we are going to mention in our farewell speeches from this day onwards. Only when we retrospectively are living our life, Okay, so then perhaps we can plan our work life as well as personal life in a much better manner. All right, now these were the categories when I spoke about the challenges. These are the challenges which I personally faced, and many of you can resonate with these points as well. So what about the remedies? Of course, for all problems, every problem need not have a solution. At least some of them can be worked out in a different way. First thing, as I mentioned, it is occasion. So let it be very clear in your mind that no principal, no HOD, no dean came to your house and invited you to be the teacher in their esteemed institution. We are the ones who went with the application. So this was always our choice. If we are not happy, if we are of the opinion, I did not get a job somewhere else, that's why I'm into teaching field, this is a great disservice to ourselves and mainly to our students. Better we can think of plan B. That is one thing. The second thing is, it's all about the perception. I have come across so many cases wherein the teachers would come on a Monday morning and the first thing they say is, oh no, it's a Monday again, one more week to go. Now, energy is infectious, as they say. It could be a positive energy or a negative energy. You are spoiling the mood of the whole department. There could be a case where, the way you look into things, the word perception is an, intriguing and interesting word. I came across this particular example yesterday. It seems one particular family got the new family in their neighborhood, and whenever you have got the new neighbors, you are always keen to know about their lifestyle and so on. So the lady of this house used to peep through her glass window, and she was always upset about one of the qualities of their neighbors. Usually they say, if you want to pass a judgment about someone's house, please look into their washroom, their kitchen, and the way they have put their clothes into drying. So this lady would see the way they are putting the clothes into drying, and she would always complain to her husband, look at them, their clothes are so shabby. In spite of washing, they're so dirty. And I don't know what kind of a culture they must be having. And husband would listen patiently. After 15, 20 days, one day this lady got up and again she's peeping through the glass window, and for that day, she found it something very unique and new. That day, those clothes of the neighbors, which were put into dry, we're looking like these Surf Excel advertisement bright clothes. And she called her husband and said, the neighbors must have been seeing the way I am managing the clothes. Today, their clothes are neat and clean and they look great. And the husband told, looking through the same glass window, don't worry, today morning, I decided to clean our glass window and dusted it off. So the way you look into things could make a huge difference. Then, when it comes to the students, do not worry what they are going to become. They will get into some sort of a job. Your task should be, or rather I should say for myself, our task should be who they become, what sort of people they are going to become. The person who had 6 or 7 backlogs, who has still not cleared them, but he is the owner of 5 to 6 buses. That doesn't mean that all dropouts will be successful, but it could be a case that even such people who have passion for something else could make it big. So we try our best. If it doesn't work, then we need not take it personally. There are teachers where, sometimes they're of the opinion that I'm the best, I'm the rank holder in my MSc, and how is it possible that the students are failing in my class? So it depends on his grasping capacity as well. We kept on telling to one particular boy in our class that do not spend much time with the camera. He passed with some 55% marks. But today he is having a photography shop and he's getting these major wedding contracts and he's charging 3 to 4 lakh per wedding. You know how exuberant and exotic the weddings are these days, from pre-wedding photo shoot up to everything. There was one instance where a lady did a post-divorce photo shoot as well, to that extent, and the boy is making money, he's successful. So there are cases where let them decide what is their area of interest. We'll try our best, but we need not take it too personally. Only thing we can do is we can be careful with the choice of our words when we are dealing with them, because in spite of 100 mistakes committed by the students, if we cross our boundaries, if we end up saying something which is not supposed to be told by the teacher, then they will not take it positively. There are 2 words, sword, S-W-O-R-D, and there is one more thing called words. These are the 2 terms, S-W-O-R-D, sword, and W-O-R-D-S, words. These are the 2 terms. if at all you compare these two terms, every letter which is present end up in the saying something which is not supposed to be told by the teacher, but then they will not take it positively. Just do not have the similar letters. Sword, S-W-O-R-D, words, and there is one more thing called words. Is also these similar. Are the two terms, S-W-O-R-D, sword, and W-O-R-D is words. It is always said. I was listening to the if at all you compare these bishop of Mangalore, when every letter which is present end up in the saying something which is not supposed to be told by the teacher, but then they will not take it positive. Do not have the similar letters. Once you say something, W-O-R-D, words, and there is one more thing called words. Is also similar. We need to be mindful of this thing. When it comes to a problem, I already told you that some don't have solutions. If at all you compare these bishop of Mangalore, every letter which is present end up in the saying something which is not supposed to be told by the teacher, but then they will not take it positive. Suffering, there are similar letters. Once you say something, W-O-R-D, words, and there is one more thing called words. Is also similar. We need to be mindful of this thing. When it comes to a problem, I already told you that some don't have solutions. If at all you compare these bishop of Mangalore, every letter which is present end up in the saying something which is not supposed to be told by the teacher, but then they will not take it positive. Suffering, there are similar letters. Once you say something, W-O-R-D, words, and there is one more thing called words. Is also similar. We need to be mindful of this thing. When it comes to a problem, I already told you that some don't have solutions. If at all you compare these bishop of Mangalore, every letter which is present end up in the saying something which is not supposed to be told by the teacher, but then they will not take it positive. Suffering, there are similar letters. Once you say something, W-O-R-D, words, and there is one more thing called words. Is also similar. We need to be mindful of this thing. When it comes to a problem, I already told you that some don't have solutions. If at all you compare these bishop of Mangalore, every letter which is present end up in the saying something which is not supposed to be told by the teacher, but then they will not take it positive. Suffering, there are similar letters. Once you say something, W-O-R-D, words, and there is one more thing called words. Is also similar. We need to be mindful of this thing. When it comes to a problem, I already told you that some don't have solutions. If at all you compare these bishop of Mangalore, every letter which is present end up in the saying something which is not supposed to be told by the teacher, but then they will not take it positive. Suffering, there are similar letters. Once you say something, W-O-R-D, words, and there is one more thing called words. Is also similar. We need to be mindful of this thing. When it comes to a problem, I already told you that some don't have solutions. If at all you compare these bishop of Mangalore, every letter which is present end up in the saying something which is not supposed to be told by the teacher, but then they will not take it. When it comes to a problem, I already told you that some don't have solutions. If at all you compare these bishop of every letter which is present end up in the saying something which is not supposed to be told by the teacher, but then they will not take it. Within 2,000 rupees, that is very much within the budget. That could be one thing. Make sure you carry when it comes to water. That could be books I'm supposed to carry. So that could be one thing. Keep some biscuits and all. This might be the silly solutions, but these solutions would work whenever you are in a hurry. You, instead of going with the empty stomach, you can have these things, and make sure at least half an hour you devote for yourself, maybe the yoga, maybe your dance, maybe your outdoor sports, and that would keep you in the right frame of mind, and your fitness also would be at peak. Always remember, there are some people who are very proudly saying that every day I stay till 6:30, 7:30 in the college. Staying late is not a virtue. That also has a different interpretation. You cannot finish your time within the allotted slots. That's why you're staying late. You're inefficient. Or of course, there could be a genuine reason that the work which is dumped on you is so much that you'll have to stay back. But don't make it a habit. Personal life is personal life. Professional life is professional life. I know it is easier said than done, but somewhere we will have to balance it. And at least pass on the message to the people who are dumping this work that our professional life is from this particular point to this particular point. That is one thing. And the last thing before I wind up, this is such a noble job, because at least we are dealing with the human beings, not the computers. Imagine how boring that must have been to deal with the computers and machines. Every year there's a new batch and we are dealing with the human beings. So don't just go through your teaching life. Let us grow through this teaching life. Let's not just go through the teaching life, but let us grow through the teaching life. And as I said right at the beginning, these are just my opinions. Right, wrong, it is up to your discretion, but this is what I felt and this is what I expressed. We'll open the forum for a kind of an interaction. Let's see how organizers have planned this, but thanks for your patient listening. Thank you. Are we going to take a written questions, or can somebody just unmute and speak? Or raise the hands perhaps, and then you decide? Do they have the option of raising the hand? Yes, they have.
So you can
Need not be just the questions. If at all you have got better suggestions, and this is definitely this was not a technical session, you can understand by the template of it. So if you have some better ideas, you feel free, and we'll stick to this motto. Let's agree to disagree. If it works, it works.
Good evening, Denzel. Can I start?
Sangeeta,
Can I start, Denzel? Or let Sangeeta ma'am start? I will ask second. Sangeeta ma'am.
The first person can go ahead, please.
Yeah. Good evening, Mr. Manoj. I don't know what is the kind of audience here, whether all are teachers or students are also there. But, older than you and also everyone here probably. So I totally agree with whatever you have said over here. So I thought I am a strange being. I'm an alien in the college where I'm teaching, but I also experience the same things, whatever you have just mentioned now about, some of the things, like you just said that one girl said that I just want to go and get my dupe and bro and dude and all. My students wish they could say that to me, but my temperament doesn't allow that, and maybe my looks don't allow that. So I am safe in that way. But I truly agree with you that these are the things that, you said about parents also being more, pampering their children. And this is a pampered generation. I personally am doing a PhD study in my field, which deals with why my students do not wish to continue their career in hospitality, if I may say. So I have also, during the study, met many people who are of the same opinion. So thanks, Mr. Manoj.
Thanks. Thanks for your thoughts. Next person, please. Luckily, that was a statement, so I just vouch for that.
you can unmute and you can ask. You can also type questions in the chat box. If it's unable to switch on your mics, you can put your questions in the chat box. We'll wait for another 2 minutes.
It doesn't look like there are many questions coming up. Thank you for being the participants in this particular session. Hopefully you'll have an enriching and a career which would have a positive influence in the minds and hearts of thousands of students. Thank you, teachers. All the best.
Thank you, Manoj sir, for such a wonderful, informative session. I'm sure our audience and we too have learned a lot from this session. I hope there are no more any interactions or there are no any questions. We will move to the final part of the webinar of proposing vote of thanks. I request Miss Vinita Mendonça, Department of BHS, to propose the vote of thanks.
Good evening to everyone present. It's my privilege to thank a resource person of today's session, Mr. Manoj Fernandez, Assistant Professor, Department of Business Administration, St. Aloysius College, Mangalore. Thank you, sir, for the wonderful talk. I thank Reverend Father Michael L. Santamayor, Principal of Milagros College, for the opportunity provided. Also, thanks to IQAC Coordinator, Mrs. Chaitana Kumari, for arranging such a fruitful session. I also like to thank Mr. Denzel DeCosta for all the technical support. And also, I like to thank all the teaching and non-teaching staff of Milagros for being very helpful. Last but not least, I like to thank each one of you for being present here and taking active participation. Thank you, one and all.